Goals of African Philosophy of Education. Now, by introducing you to particular purposes or goals of African philosophy of education, we are not implying that these goals are necessarily predetermined, and neither are we saying that the unexpected is not possible. But the reason as to why we identify at least 3 specific goals is to show you that when doing African philosophy of education, it's not without any purpose. So what would be the first goal to be achieved if one were to practice an African way of thinking and doing? What we have identified is that people's individual and collective, or what is called their social interests, are brought into harmony with one another. It's not as if the individual and the group move apart, but that their individualities and their collectivities are harmonized and brought into some kind of commensurability with one another. And in this way, these people, as individuals and as a collective, would become self-determining beings. Because as self-determining beings, you can then embark on critique. But if you are not self-determining beings, you would not be in a position to take stock of yourselves and your own situation on the continent. The second goal of an African philosophy of education would be the goal whereby people, through their endeavors and their engagement with one another, would recognize one another's vulnerabilities. And how do they do that? They actually put themselves into the shoes of one another. They put themselves into the shoes of people who are less vulnerable than what they are, and then begin to imagine the lived experiences of others. How would I know if others are hungry if I cannot imagine that? So the second goal of an African philosophy of education is to recognize one another's vulnerabilities by putting oneself into somebody else's shoes. And that is when you encounter a particular kind of imagined lived experience. And the third goal we have in mind, and quite importantly, is where people use their local knowledge, not just discard what is local for the sake of the global, for the sake of what is nationally or internationally known, but they rather use their local understandings, their local knowledges, and their global knowledges, and then fuse these local and global understandings of knowledge and to act then in a responsible way. So whereas African philosophy of education is about recognizing the vulnerabilities of others and imagining oneself to be in others' shoes, there is also the understanding that what one has acquired locally cannot just be discarded, but it rather be interspersed with what is understood as universal or global, and in this way act more responsibly with an informed understanding of human experience. And these are 3 goals of an African philosophy of education. But as we said, it does not discount any unexpected or any uncalculated goal to occur.